Welcome to the Practicing Accountant Podcast, your go-to resource for transforming your accounting practice. This podcast is for accountants ready to take control of their business and build their ideal practice by mastering the essentials, setting the right prices, defining a powerful niche, and selling with ease. We'll dive into strategies that boost profits, attract your ideal clients, elevate your services, and help you choose the most effective pricing models. We are champions for efficiency, value, and intentionality, and adversaries of people-pleasing, bad clients, and complacency. We provide actionable strategies to help you break the hamster wheel of typical accounting work. The mission of the Practicing Accountant Podcast is simple: to enhance your experience as an entrepreneurial accountant and help you turn neglected practices into a thriving business. So, if you're ready to level up your practice, this podcast is for you. Tune in and let's get to work. I got stories from the front lines today. So I just shared, we'll share. So I'm going to give you a glimpse into the world of post-busy season CPA coaching, which is always an interesting time. All kinds of stuff happens. So I'm going to walk you through my week. Today is a Thursday, so this is going to be Monday through now. These are a flavor of the coaching flavors that have occurred this week. So we start out and we've got a partner who was let go because of a service area that no longer is going to be supported.
Oh, wow.
We got a partner who is working on their emotional intelligence, probably because of feedback, or definitely because of feedback. We've got a partner who lacks an EQ, trying to develop business. We've got a partner who just finished his first busy season as a independent accountant, and he's a sole partner. He built a team pretty quick, and he had taken some clients from his previous place. He had about a $1.6 million busy season. Proud of him.
It's pretty good.
Got someone who's about ready to leave because their boss is toxic and is going to start their own practice. Got someone who is struggling to create relationships with his other partners and wants to grow the firm. Got someone who isn't quite sure they want to be a partner because of how many hours the partners above them work. Got someone who is working to retire and trying to figure out how to tell the firm that. Got someone who just did a debrief of busy season and identified that the last 2 weeks sucked. No surprise there for anyone that's in tax, but kind of a what the fudge happened. We got one who just kicked out a partner that didn't get along and is trying to regroup on his own. We got someone who is working to find time that is important stuff, but not urgent stuff. So Eisenhower box.
Nice.
And we got one firm managing partner who is trying to create alignment within their firm. And then I got ghosted by a toxic managing partner who has ghosted me twice now, and I will unlikely be working with him or his firm from here on. So that's the flavor of coaching CPAs and accountants post busy season.
Sounds like a lot of partner issues.
That's usually where they start. And that's one of the conversations I tried to think about, like, what are the themes of these conversations I've been having? And when it's partner to partner, it's usually just like, you got to find alignment. When you're partners with someone, you've got to find that you're after the same thing. And there are some persona of partner that just wants to do their own shit, wants to work on their own clients and stay in their offices and not really develop people or business and just make it to whatever that age that they can then go and play with the toys that they've accumulated in their lifetime.
Yep.
And you've got others who want to see growth and they want to develop people and they want to, leave some form of legacy, whether that be a surviving firm or a giant payday for everyone when they sell out. And then you've got some who, see it as a lifestyle business and, maybe they're trying to avoid their family. And so they just work a ton and that's the kind of lifestyle you want. So alignment is the key with partners. With those that are working around partners, it's tone. Like, what kind of tone are you setting for the people that work for you? Are you someone they want to work for? Are you someone who is demonstrating a lifestyle that you think the staff want? That's a big one. And I guess maybe, and I was talking to someone this week about it. There's a couple of things that have showed up this season that are not surprising, but kind of the theme of the season. Like I've talked to more people that have had 100-hour weeks in the last couple of weeks of busy season than I normally do. Now, that doesn't mean that's like a industry-wide thing. I'm only talking about my clients. I'm just
Right.
telling you what I've experienced through my clients. Like a lot of them had to pull 100-hour weeks because of, you could guess this, the people pleaser and taking on work too late in the season or allowing clients to send in stuff too late. I mean, stories of getting K1s on the 14th or,
Mm-hmm.
material wasn't in the weekend before, that kind of stuff. So that's one thing. Just a lot more hours in those last 2 weeks than even you would expect in a season. That'd be one theme. Another theme: partners buffering work for staff, and this comes back to kind of a generational thing, where like that stereotypical Z versus baby boomer or X. Like the X's and the baby boomers are willing to work all these extra hours, and they're trying to help their staff not have to work so many hours, which isn't, I guess, nice, maybe.
Sure.
But at the same time, those staff are looking up at the partners working all these hundreds of hours going, I don't want to do that. And
Right.
so it kind of has a reverse effect. Like you're trying to like make it better for them when in fact you're really proving to them that this isn't, what they want to do. So that's been a theme. What else? Not a lot of cross selling. Which I know it's busy season, not a lot of business development in general. Like you and
Yeah.
I
Probably
talk
not
like
yet.
that. Well, and I talked to someone today, about her business development, and she's just completely let it go over the last 3 months. And guess what? Right now, she's in that zone that you and I have talked about before, which is, I've got to get going again. I've got to turn it on again. Like it's been off for a while, and I've got to start, doing this thing again. Where our analogy has been hiking, where there's a couple ways to hike a mountain. One is you hike for like 50 minutes or an hour, then you take a 15-minute break, and then you hike again. Or you hike and you manage your pace so that you are slowing down to rest, but still moving,
Right.
like on a downhill or just normally when you'd like really go fast, like slow yourself down, take a breather, eat an energy bar, but keep moving. I think that latter method of hiking, I think, is a better way of doing it. And I've checked this with a guy who does all these 14ers, and he agreed that's the better way to do it. But business development is the same thing. Like if you have to start and stop it, like it's hard to start again. Like when you get
Yeah.
off that rock and have to climb back onto the trail and get back up the mountain, it's hard because you've got to get up and you got to get your body to move from a place that it was comfortable. But if you keep going in business development and you're still having not as many, but like an hour's worth of business development a week, even during the busier times, that momentum creates more opportunity now
Right.
instead of waiting for June or July when you've gotten your pace back. Um, and so that's one of the things I've heard. But I think what they're all doing, and I appreciate this, and I know you do too, is they're reflecting on how the last 3 months, 4 months have gone, and what they want to see differently next year. And as you and I talk about breaking the hamster wheel, creating a different experience in the next 2 weeks of last year. And if there's one thing, one way to change the experience of the next 2 weeks, or the last 2 weeks of the season next year, is to pull shit up. Like I time and again, like they're letting clients get away with shit, like not bringing them information or sending them stuff at the last minute or not meeting the deadlines that the engagement letters express. And the same thing for bookkeeping. I mean, getting year end tied up and having it all crunch at once. It's again, pull it up, pull as much work into January earlier in the month than you can. Don't let them get away with those late things. If they send you late things, you're automatically extended. Um, and hopefully we guesstimate appropriately, but pull the work up. Like stop waiting until March or even April to. And there's always the excuse of we didn't have the K1s or we didn't have this, we didn't have that. Well, maybe you should say no to some of that work, or maybe you should be more intentional about how much work is going to show up in the periods it does. And I've seen tax preparers try to schedule tax seasons
Mm-hmm.
by client, and it's almost impossible just because there's so many of them. Like for an auditor or bookkeeper, it's pretty easy to say, okay, this client's going to fall on this date and this week, and I'm going to allocate resources to it. Like it's easier in that sense, but when it comes to tax, like you can't. There's too many variables involved. There's too many humans involved.
Well,
To be able
especially
to
when
create that.
you ask them, the tax clients, to schedule their own meeting, and they don't think through that they're not going to get a K1 till late April or after the March deadline. They don't have that wherewithal about the nuances of the needs to do the tax prep. So I've seen a lot of chatter on Twitter about that. People trying to schedule it, and I see value in it, but it's not going to fix bad clients.
Well, I think I see value in it if there's accountability. Like if there's, okay, your window is, and make it a nice range, your window for doing your work is going to be between March 1st and March 15th. And if you have all of your information to us by that time or whatever the date is, we will get it done before the deadline. If you miss that, we're sorry, you're going to have to find someone else. That's what they like say and think. But then the client shows up on April 14th and says, oh yeah, here's that extra K1 that you've been missing. And they, what do the accountants do? They're like, oh, and freak out, and they stay up till midnight, work 85 hours and get it done. But if instead it's just the power of no to say, sorry, I appreciate it. I love that you got us this stuff, and that's great. But we had that window set. That window's gone, and we're sorry. Like, what was it the other day? I ran into this. Oh, I was trying to speak for one of those some conference. And it was like the Friday of the deadline. And I was like, do I do it? Do I do it? I don't know if I want to do it or not. And so like, I knew it was after the deadline, but like not long, like a couple hours after. And I was like, oh shit, I got to try this. And so I tried it and they're like, nope, sorry. I'm like, yeah, but I got kind of bent about it. I was like, what are you talking about? No, like you should totally have me up there. And I sent them all these, like, here's the things I can talk about. And they're like, no, we're good. Oh. And it's, it was kind of nice, actually. I mean, I was annoyed, but I was kind of nice that they were like, no. And it's like, bumping into that, trying to get to that flower shop on Mother's Day at 5:00, and they closed at 5, and you got there at 5:05, and you start pounding on the door, and they're like, sorry. And you're like, what are you talking about? I've got money. I'm going to pay you for those flowers. And they're like, yeah, we just had like the worst day of the year, and we could care less about you and your mother at this point. And sorry, but just having the accountability to say no, I think is one way you can get that scheduling in. But again, because people pleaser and because of money, there's clients have a hard time with that.
I notice all the chatter this time of year is about tools, softwares, and workflows, and I think if you spent less time figuring out which software you're going to switch to, that's going to be such a tiny difference in how you're doing things now, instead worked on a mindset shift like learning how to say no or managing your people pleaser, that would have a much bigger impact. Like, don't worry about the fucking tax software or the like the amount of training that it's going to take to switch platforms or practice management softwares or whatever you use and want to switch to right now. Spend that energy on higher leverage things like business development, mindset shifts, learning how to not say yes to everything every day and during tax season. That's just more powerful use of time.
I think accountants have like a software fetish.
Oh yeah.
Like they're just like, I mean, like you could be like, here's a better way to live your life and do great things and live your purpose. And they're like, and you're like, oh wait. And here's a way to automate your workflow and create reports that you don't have to actually input so you can send to your client on something. They're like, that one. Like they love it. And I read something today about AI in accountants. There was an article about, why aren't accountants using this more? And they had big firms talking about this, which, I mean, doesn't necessarily make it relevant, but like CBIZ and CBiz and Moss Adams and Ripley. And the reasons why some of the accountants aren't using AI, there's the number of tools on the market, risk. They don't always know what to do with it. They can't get clear answers on it. Skepticism, inertia, trust. There's all these excuses why they're not going to AI. And to me, it's crazy. Like, I mean, automation and software, but you're right. You make a point. Like if you give them the tools to be, better at their jobs, quicker at their jobs, they still have to have that mindset around being intentional with their business.
Yep.
And learning what to say yes to and no to, and not just grabbing all the work in the world. But one of the primary arguments, which you and I've touched on here, that accountants might be hesitant for automation, is the loss of the billable hour.
See, I've been, sorry to interrupt you. I've been developing a contrarian take to AI, I think.
Have you? I want to hear it.
I think, first of all, it's not quite there yet for accountants. There's, yes, you can use ChatGPT. You can make incremental improvements in some of your efficiencies, but to worry about it right now, I think is a waste of time. I think you should pay attention to where things are going and watch for new tools that can dramatically increase your efficiency, which aren't out yet. But until then, work on the bigger levers, the pricing power, the brand development, the mindset shifts like we just talked about. And until then, I think maybe watch the waves instead of riding the wave that might take you nowhere. Because I don't know that it's quite there yet. Yes, there are tools being rolled out, but for the solo tax firm or bookkeeper, they're just not quite there yet. So let's not stress about it. Let's work on things that can get us ready for that, like advisory. But let's not spend all of our day worrying about AI.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't think it's something to worry about. I think you don't necessarily need to create some urgency, especially if you're a Soho. I don't think you need to have urgency at the moment for AI. Plus, with what QuickBooks has invested, $100 million in AI and putting rules into the bookkeeping software, and allowing more efficiencies with bank recs and vendor statements and shit like that. So a lot of the bookkeepers and Sohos are going to benefit from the investments that their current software is already making, which is going to make up a lot of it. But to the point of the billable hour, even if it's their software that they currently have getting more efficient, or whether they, intentionally seek more efficient software and AI to support them, that billable hour problem is still a problem.
Yeah.
And for those, and I think when Ron Baker Ask Ron Baker has made a push towards, removing the billable hour, I've always been a little bit resistant to it until probably this year. And not resistant in the way that I'm not open to it. I just know that, it's hard to budget some things and hard to tell a client how much something's going to cost, and then be able to bill them without substantiating the time that was spent. So there was just a disconnect between how clients have always perceived accountants and how accountants wanted to be perceived. So there's always a case for the billable hour in that context. But because of automation, I'm more worried about billable hours than ever, because of how much money accountants would stand to lose if they started billing fewer hours for work they were getting more efficient at.
Right.
And so I think that's where, some of the dialogue you and I, again, have had around leaning into the advisory, leaning into the relationship, leaning into different pricing models. Like there's no more incentive that I can think of, and that doesn't mean there isn't, to start moving into that than there is now.
Yeah. But that same thing happened with the advent of software. And I wasn't really around, obviously not in the industry when that happened. I was probably a kid when software started coming out for tax prep, at least the more modern versions. And that same conversation was probably happening then about, well, now we just have to raise our hourly rates because we're more efficient, because a lot of these calculations are just included in the tax software.
It was probably being held, but a lot less publicly.
Yeah.
They didn't have guys like us on our little podcast here,
Right.
talking about this and making it as big of an issue as it may be for that individual firm that was just dealing with, Excel or, having TaxDome or, sure, whatever, all the different safe send and all that crap.
Yeah.
Like, but the, I think a difference here is just even with, that software that showed up, there's a lot of things that they didn't have to do anymore. I think this is another version of that. Maybe it's a little bit, bigger of an impact.
Yeah.
But I think because of the market, because of the number of accountants out there, the number of clients that are out there, and the number of folks that still haven't moved to a different pricing model other than billable or hourly, like that's the crazy thing is like after this, I don't know if there's another reason that's going to show up to say go to a different pricing model that could be even more bigger of an opportunity than this one.
No. Well, and people will just increase their hourly, which, as we've talked about, that's pretty much value price, maybe not value pricing, but you think it's worth something, so you're just going to adjust your hourly rate to reach that target number. So it wasn't actually hourly.
Yeah, and they probably pad their work too.
Yeah.
And I talked to a firm this week that was talking about creating what's called a value hour, which, as you might guess, is an hour that is more based on value than cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so, instead of saying, okay, it's going to take this many people to do it this, and their benefits are this, and then, here's some costs that we're going to share across all the clients, and that comes up with our billable hour. Instead, they're saying, okay, how much is our expertise worth for this person to spend an hour on something, and then, ballparking a number that they call the value hour. And then that becomes the rate, and preferably and hopefully there's a shit ton of profit built into that, but that yet to be seen. But I forgot to mention that was kind of interesting this week too. Yeah, so it's always interesting at the end of the season. So I think the message this week is and this is our third busy season, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so in our third busy season, and we're a bit of the hamster wheel on the message, but we're going to say it anyway. It's a great time to reflect on what went well, what didn't go well, what you did that you want to continue doing. And more importantly, this is a great chance to figure out how the hamster wheel went this year so you can break it next year. And lots of opportunities, lots of topics covered today. So I don't know if there was really necessarily a theme of today other than reflect and take this opportunity to be a little bit innovative and change some things in the firm, whether it be your pricing model or how you set the tone or how you pull work up or how you automate or how you say no.
Yep.
Lots of good opportunities here. Otherwise, appreciate you watching the Practicing Accountant podcast and cheers.
Awesome. Thanks, man.